Jack dreams about the Earth before the war. He has only seen pictures of a woman who smiles at him, but he has never met her in person. He feels strongly about her, as if he wasn't in a dream but in real life. Jack wakes up in the year 2077. It has been 5 years since his memories were wiped. Those who keep having the same dreams. Him and Victoria were sent to Earth for a mission. In 2 weeks, it will be over and they can join the others. They are not the same at all. He doesn't understand why she isn't an alien. The scavengers killed off most of the moon's population 50 years ago, and they wanted to take over Earth because their own planet was dying. Without the moon, the invasion caused earthquakes and tsunamis that completely destroyed the Earth. The last humans used nuclear weapons to win the war, but most of the planet is now too dangerous to live on. Before they moved to one of Saturn's moons, the survivors left and built the Tet, a temporary space station. Everyone had already moved there, but Jack and Victoria stayed on Earth to protect the hydro rigs, which turn water into energy. It's important for the survival of all people. Scavengers who are still on Earth keep fighting and messing up their work by attacking the drones and him. Their mission control tells them they are doing a good job. Victoria is his chief of communications, and he is the drone's tech support. She is excited to go to Titan, but he still feels at home on Earth. Jack gets into his ship and gets ready for his daily patrol. He turns on all of the systems and checks with Victoria before lifting off. Jack says that he sees the hydro rigs. All of a sudden, Victoria tells him that they have lost 2 drones. When mission goes online, Victoria starts talking to Ted and tells Sally about the drones. She tells Jack about the news and links his ship to hers. He follows it through a storm, but for a moment he loses control of the ship and falls down. Victoria tries to convince Mission Control that they need new parts. She told the people who are working on some broken drones that their job for the day is to fix drone 166 and find drone 172. Jack loses control of his bike and is about to flip over. When he gets control back all of a sudden and pulls up, he comes up to where the first was. Victoria checks for scavengers before he lands, but she can't see very far. Jack lands near the drone, gets what he needs to fix it, and tells Victoria to keep an eye on him while he works on the drone and talks to her on the radio. He is being watched by someone. She tells him he can't fix the drone, but he uses his gum and gets it to work. Victoria sees something on her monitors before the drone starts moving. When Jack turns around, he sees a dog. When the drone is ready to work, Jack scares the dog away so it doesn't. He gives his ID to the drone and doesn't talk to it. It scans the area where the people watching it were standing, and then it takes off. When Jack stops to eat lunch, he tells Victoria that the scavengers are becoming more brave. She says that when they are both gone, there will be nothing left but dust and radiation. He gets on his bike to go look for the second drone on the ground. Jack rides through a dry landscape where there used to be water. He thinks he hears a faint signal from the drone in front of him, but he doesn't. But he finds a sinkhole and thinks that's where the drone may have fallen. He tells Victoria that he will go inside to find it, and she tells him that Tet will go offline in 15 minutes, so he will be on his own. Jack puts a rope on his bike, and then he climbs down. The trash pickers are still watching him from far away. Victoria asks the drone to return to his spot. Jack goes down slowly and carefully. He can finally hear and see the drone, but the people in charge don't hear him. When he tries to get close to the drone, he almost trips and falls, so he uses a broken beam as a bridge to get there. He gets to the signal and finds the beacon, but the drone scavengers don't catch him and pull him in. Instead, he shoots their rope and gets away. He sees a few and shoots at them. When they suddenly pull the beam away, he jumps over the gap because they are getting closer to him. Once he's safe on the other side, he locks himself to his rope and pulls himself up. But someone shoots and breaks it, so he falls back into the... As they get closer, it seems like all is lost. Then, all of a sudden, a drone appears and starts scanning the area. It then starts blasting it up, killing the scavengers. When drone 166 scans him again, it doesn't immediately recognize his ID. Jack picks up a book that he finds on the ground. Once he gets to the top, he sees that the thieves have taken his bike. Jack gets himself home while he takes a shower. He remembers something else about New York. He is fixing up a drone when he decides to look at something. Victoria interrupts him. As the sun goes down behind them, she is making lunch. She gets the flowers from Jack. He's been carrying it around, so she goes outside, throws it away, and tells him it might have poisons in it while they eat dinner. He tells her that the scavengers weren't trying to kill him, but rather to catch him. Victoria goes outside to their pool, strips off, and jumps in. Jack goes there with her, but he doesn't go inside right away. He asks her to join him on the ground one day. She drags him into the water. When he has another dream of the woman he's been seeing, they kiss and go under. Jack wakes up in bed and looks out the window to see a huge explosion. He goes to find out more about it. One of the hydro rigs blew up, and Jack thinks that one of the drones was turned into a weapon by the scavengers. He finds a strange signal that is being sent away from the planet and goes right away to find out what's going on. He finds that it starts near where the top of the Empire State used to be. Jack walks in and sees something that was in his dream as well. He can hear the beacon, so he tries to get there. He sees a few things on the ground and picks them up. The beacon uses the building as an antenna, and Victoria figures out what the message means. It's a set of numbers that don't point to anything. Jack turns it off and keeps going around, getting dangerously close to the radiation border. Before he goes home, he checks the perimeter and turns off his radio. Jack enters his boat next to a house near a beautiful ravine. He turns on the light and adds the few small things he has found to the home's inventory. He puts on a nice Led Zeppelin record and goes outside to enjoy the place, thinking about how much he will miss it. When they leave, he falls asleep on the grass and dreams again about the woman on the Empire State Building. Jack sees something falling and runs away right away. Victoria tells him where it fell, and it looks like it landed on the coordinates of the beacon. She tells him that the mission is almost done, but first she tells them what's going on. Sally tells her that they have already sent drones there, so Jack should stop. He goes against the order and checks out the thing. Still, as he gets closer, he says that the thing looks like a person. Before war. When Jack gets to the site, he finds people in hibernation pods. He tells Victoria that he has 5 people still alive. The woman from his dreams is in the last pod he checks. The drones appear out of nowhere and start to destroy the pods. Jack tells them to stop, but 166 is getting ready to fight him. Even though it wants to end the pod, it clears his ID. Jack guards it and shoots at the drone, which makes it stop following him. The people who eat trash are looking at him again. Jack just gets out of the ship, but he drags the pod with him. Victoria lets him in by opening the door, and then they open the pod. She tells him to find the first aid kit. She says that they need to tell someone, but Jack tells her about the drones. The woman wakes up all of a sudden, throwing up and breathing fluid. She falls back into Jack's arms and calls him by name. She wakes up and asks where she is. Victoria brings them together, and the woman says she is. Victoria tells her what happened and about her crew, but the woman doesn't seem to understand. Julia asks Jack how long she's been sleeping, and he says 60 years. As they eat lunch, Jack asks her about the beacon and how it fits into her mission. Julia says that she needs to get the flight recorder from the ship, but Victoria tells her that the Earth has changed a lot in the past 60 years. They tell her that aliens are coming and that everyone else is getting ready on Saturn or the space station. Julia laughs when she sees them hold hands. Victoria is scared of her a lot. Jack and Victoria talk about her again later, and Victoria wants her to leave. He asks her if she remembers anything from before the mission and if she knows who he is. Victoria gets mad and tells them that she was brought down by a scavenger beacon. The place where the scavenger's live has been found. Later, Julia is awake. When Jack comes to help her, he tells her that Victoria will tell the Ted that she is there and will then send someone down. Julia says that she needs to go to her ship and get the flight recorder. She tells them that they both need to know what happened. They leave, and Victoria tells him that when they get to the crash site, she won't be able to protect him. She looks through the camera on the ship. Jack tells Julia that he couldn't save the pods after she sees them. Victoria sees someone on the monitors and tries to tell them, but she can't. Julia finally finds the tape while she is looking for it. Scavengers come out of nowhere and knock Jack over. When he sends the ship back, they hit him and knocked him out. The scavengers are taking the 2 of them somewhere. The ship goes back to Victoria the next day. Mission comes online, and she doesn't tell her exactly what happened, just that he went off calm. So she asks for a drone to look around the last place he was seen. When Jack wakes up, he has a bright smile on his face. He hears a voice reading the book's lines. He found a man before who was smoking a cigar in the dark and told him he had been watching him, seeing how interested he was. Jack says they won't get anything out of him because his memory has been wiped. The man asks him if he has ever met a scavenger or been in the radiation zone. He also tells him that he asks too many questions. When the light came on, there were people all over the building. Jack doesn't understand the man. What does Veach explain? They are just people, but they have to hide from the drones because the drones have been programmed to kill people. He asks Jack why he stood between Julia and the drone. Jack says that anyone would have done the same thing. Sykes comes up to them and tells them that a drone will follow him. They take away his chains and help him stand up. While this is going on, Victoria is looking at the drone's tracking data with Mission, and Sally confirms that it's Jack. Beach takes Jack to their facility on the ground and tells him that Julia's ship was brought down for its reactor. He tells him that they have used the reactor and the fuel cells from the drones to make a nuclear bomb. They brought along a drone that can carry it, but they can't get to it. Only Jack can do both things at once, and the drone is following his DNA to where they are hiding. Beach needs Jack to program the drone to take the nuke to the center of the TED and end the war. Sykes shoots Jack because he won't do it. They bring Julia in and tell him she might die. Suddenly, an alarm goes off to let them know that the drone is coming. It goes to the hiding spot and checks it out. The scavengers try to bring it down, but it kills a few of them before Sykes brings it down. Mission and Victoria agreed that the drone goes offline, and Victoria asked for 2 more. Jack is telling Beach the same thing at the same time. Before they leave, the thieves are ready to let them go. Beach tells him that one of the radiation zones is where he can find the truth. They get to the Empire State Building. He tells Victoria that he is still alive by sending her a message, and she tells Mission so that she can stop the other drones. While they wait for it, Victoria sends the ship to Jack. Jack asks Julia if she is who she says she is. She says that the flight she was on was for research, but 6 weeks before launch, their sensors picked up an object from another planet, and they were sent to find out if it was the Tat. She tells him that she is actually his wife and that he isn't who he thinks he is. Julia tells him that he asked her to get married right where they are. Jack remembers some of it, but he is still not sure what it was all about. The ship gets to Victoria and sees them holding hands. They go back to the house, but Victoria won't let them in. Jack tells her they have to go and tells her that Julia is his. Victoria tells Ted about Julia, which makes Jack upset. Suddenly, someone opens the door and one of the drones they have at home goes off. Jack tells her to come with him, but she doesn't want to go or believe anything he says. He tells her that the drone will kill her when it comes. It moves toward Jack, ready to kill him as well. But Julia takes it out. Jack finally talks to Ted, who tells him that he and Julia need to come in so that they can be given a new mission. They leave the house, and Ted sends drones to get them. They've had a long and hard time. Jack leads them into the storm so that lightning will strike them. It slows them down for a second, but they keep going. The ship hides behind a waterfall, so the drones don't see it. Jack sneaks up on them from behind and kills 2 of them. The last one can hold up. It almost crashes into their ship, but Jack is able to outmaneuver it and kill it. 166 follows them, though, and pushes them right into the radiation zone. The ship is destroyed when it hits them, so Jack pulls the lever to escape. They can't get out because of the radiation. He hears a drone in the distance and goes to check if it's online. When he sees a ship like his land next to it, he can't see the man who gets out through his scope, so he decides to take a closer look. He finds himself in that place. He is told by the other Jack to put down his weapon. He tells him that they need to shoot down the drone. When Julia shows up and the other Jack remembers her, the 2 Jacks fight, at first over the guns and then with their hands, until the first Jack 49 is unable to move. 166 comes online all of a sudden, but Jack 49 quickly takes out its fuel cell, which turns it off. When he calls for Julia, he sees that she has been shot. Jack saves her by carrying her to safety. He then ties up 52 and flies his ship to his home. Once he gets inside, he sees that most things are the same. He finds the first aid kit and takes what he needs from it. Victoria 52 catches him, but he manages to trick her into thinking he's her Jack. However, he can't get this one to join him on the ground. When he returns, he finds that 52 has gotten away. He fixes Julia's wounds, gets her to the boat, and takes her to his house by the lake. When Julia wakes up there fully healed, she looks around and plays Jack's favorite record. She joins him outside, and he tells her that he knows he's not the original, but he's loved her for as long as he can remember. Julia tells him that in the end, his memories are what make him who he is. Jack knows what he needs to do the next morning and gets ready for it. He has decided to help Beach, and Julia will go with him. When they get to where they are hiding, Beach is glad that they decided to help with their plan. In the meantime, Ted watches the video from the last time Jack was there and finds Jack's data. It sends 3 unmanned aircraft after them. Beach is telling them that he was there when everything started, from the destruction of the moon to the humans starving to death. Jack is programming the drone while Beach is talking. Last, troops that looked like him came out of the tent and took over the planet. Jack Harper was an astronaut. Their memories were erased, and they were given new instructions. Beach says that Ted is a smart machine that gets its energy from planets. One day, he saw him pick up the book and save her, which made him think he might be different and could help if he could find a way to bring him back. Jack turns on the drone, and Beach says that he wishes he could be on Tet when the nut goes off so he could see the look on its face. The trip would only go in one direction, but it would be worth it. They get the drone ready for its last mission and open the gates. The 3 drones are already there, which is bad. They come in and wreck everything. Everyone fights against them, but the machines are stronger, and they kill a lot of people. Each kills one, but not before it can hurt him and kill the drone, using the bomb. When they realize that their plan has failed, Sykes destroys the second drone and Jack 3. Make up another one, Julia. She tells him that since Ted told him to bring her up, he could put her in a pod with the nuke and bring it up that way. They say goodbye in front of a painting that makes her think of her home. Then they put the explosive device in a pod, and Jack puts Julia in it. He tells her to think of them in her dreams and shuts the pod. He pulls it to his boat and sets sail for Tat. He listens to the recording from the ship during the flight and remembers everything. He was in charge of the ship, and Sally was in charge of the mission at NASA. Victoria was with him on that mission as his co-pilot. Julia and the rest of the crew were in hibernation. In the present, Jack goes up to Ted and tells her that he's bringing it to the survivor. This gives him back in his memory. They go up to Ted, but when they realize that the object is pulling them in, Jack decides to throw out the hibernation module. Victoria and him are taken into Ted. He also does it in the present. It sends drones after him, but he manages to talk it into letting him get closer. Getting closer to T's control, he sees copies of himself and Victoria everywhere. Ted greets him as he lands next to the house. He gets the pod out and opens it. Veach appears. Julia's pod also opens, but she wakes up in the next door house. She had no idea he was going to take her there. At the same time, drones came back to bring the humans back in. Ted, Jack, and Beach both set off the bomb, and it destroys it. Its drones are also all destroyed. Julia and Sykes watch the bomb go off. After 3 years, Julia and her daughter still live in the house. The rest of the survivors show up at Lake Jack all at once. 52 also gets there with them. Jack's wife is waiting for him at home.